Hello everyone. So I have not really mentioned this a lot, or I should say I have not really made a lot of videos on this topic. Now this topic is about writing books. Now I have written a lot of books and I still write books. And one question that I believe many people want to know, or they have always, you know, this question in their mind, whether you should write a book with a publisher or not. Now, I can definitely tell you from my experience that if you are writing a book, then if you are writing a book for the very first time, then my personal recommendation would be to go with a publisher. And I will tell you a couple of uh, reasons, in fact, maybe more than a couple of reasons. Number one, if you're writing a book with a publisher, then uh, one thing is guaranteed: you will finish it. Because when you write a book with a publisher, they will initially ask you, uh, do you want to write a book on this topic or whatever topic, and they will of course expect you to build an outline. Now this is actually very important, because when you build an outline of a book, then in a way you are committing to uh, deliver something. So basically, when you're writing a book in the beginning, of course you can start with some draft and then you can keep on writing it forever, and it may never finish. But when you have spent some time in the beginning to define the outline, then in a way you're telling your publisher that yes, this will be the outline for the book. And when you are committing for this outline, your publisher will also ask you, and this is how it works. They will ask you, uh, please also specify the the content, or not the content, but I should say number of pages roughly for this outline. So they will basically have this outline. They will also have this number of pages, or length of those chapters, and then based on this they will ask you, or they might suggest a timeline. Now let us say in your book you have 10 chapters, right, which is typical. And when you have these 10 chapters, then uh, let us say for chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, you are talking about something like, let us say, 20 pages, right? Now your publisher will then suggest, okay, so we have these 10 chapters. Let us try to write the first draft of the book in the next 3 months or maybe 4 months. And they will suggest some kind of a deadline, like by this date they want you to send the first chapter draft. By this date they want you to send the second chapter draft. So basically it's like a waterfall approach. So you start with the requirements outline, then you estimated the length of those chapters, and then based on this information your publisher will suggest a plan. And usually the publishers are flexible. So if you miss like couple of let us say if you miss a deadline, it's okay, but at least you will have something to follow. At least you will have some kind of a plan. And when you're working with a publisher, you basically have someone to constantly ask you. Usually they will assign someone to manage you and your book, like coordinator, uh, and they will ensure that they chase you, they adjust the timelines. And the way it works, you will first send the first draft, and that first draft will be of course reviewed by some reviewers, and in the end there will be of course someone who will be proofreading it. So there are of course some rounds of reviews, but writing the first draft is 90% or 95% of the work from your side. So when you're working with a publisher, you in a way uh, have someone to follow up with you, chase you. You also feel a bit pressured, and because you worked on the outline, so in a way you are spending some time in the beginning to stay within the bounds of those chapters. Of course, you can modify the outline slightly, but usually if you commit to write 10 chapters, it is also a good thing for you because you would have spent some time in the beginning to identify those chapters and subsections in each chapter. But you can definitely modify it. But at the same time, you will have a plan to follow. And if you're doing these things on your own, it is not very easy because number one, you will never really write a proper outline. You will keep on changing it. Even if you do write an outline, you will, of course, because no one is chasing you, you're not really bound legally. And yet, of course, when you work with a publisher, they will have some agreement with you that we have to write this or finish this by this date, and they will of course pay you money. So that is actually very important. And in the beginning, because if you are like a first time writer author, then publisher will take care of a lot of those things for you. If you have written a couple of books, then of course you can self-publish. That is what I'm doing. But in the beginning, you need their support, you need their help,